Good evening, everyone. I would like to start by calling the meeting to order.
This meeting will also be conducted by audio and video conference without the requirement of a physically present quorum of the Rock Island City Council due to the disaster declaration issued by Governor Pritzker. Because of this order related to COVID-19 health concerns affecting the state and the city, the mayor has determined that an in-person meeting at City Hall with all participants may not be practical or prudent. Alderpersons and staff may not all be physically present at City Hall due to the disaster, and physical attendance at City Hall may be limited. To participate remotely during the public comment or public hearing portion of the meeting, please join by phone at 1-442-242-8326 and use PIN number 388-395-781#.
Thank you. We need to do roll call.
Alderman Robinson.
Present.
Alderman Hurt.
Here.
Alderwoman Gilbert.
Present.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Here.
Alderman Parker.
Here.
Alderman Poulos.
Here.
Alderman Geenan.
Present.
Mayor Tomes.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Public comment. I think we have a few people signed up here. Annika. Amelia. Oh, there she is back there.
Hello, my name's Annika, and I live in Rock Island. And I sent you guys an email today talking about something called the Section 1983 Initiative. And it's a new nonprofit that's forming in Rock Island by a Rock Island resident, Anthony Gay. And I don't know what the process is to think about or talk about spending COVID funds, but in tuning into some of the last meetings, it seemed like nonprofits were just coming and giving a little spiel, so that's what the point of this is. So the Section 1983 Initiative is a nonprofit that seeks to empower people to understand their Fourth Amendment rights and to use Section 1983 as both a resource for violation of rights and a mechanism to build more just communities. The Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution asserts the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So we all know about our, amendments in the Constitution. So this is really focused on Fourth Amendment civil rights. Section 1983 was created under the Federal Civil Rights Act of 1871, also known as the Ku Klux Klan Act, and was part of the post-Civil War legal developments that include the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. They were very much about guaranteeing civil rights for people. And so what you can do, Section 1983 does not create civil rights, but it is a way for people to have their civil rights enforced. And so the point of this nonprofit, it has basically four parts. The first part is to educate residents and stakeholders. It could be mental health professionals, it could be, police officers, but also residents about the importance of Fourth Amendment rights and how they can use Section 1983 as a viable option for enforcing rights and creating a more just community. The second part would be to serve as a trusted clearinghouse for community members who have questions about their Fourth Amendment rights or believe they have been violated. The third part is to provide advocacy for community members by helping them take action. That might look like writing a letter. It could look like filing the form online for the Human Rights Commission. they could file a complaint, or connecting them with a network of attorneys to utilize Section 1983 as a recourse to enforce civil rights. And the fourth part is to provide referrals to mental health and other supportive services, so to have kind of a wraparound element. In doing my work professionally and in the community, you hear stories about people who feel their rights have been violated, but it's actually quite overwhelming and scary to think about speaking up and speaking out. And oftentimes people need support through that, mental health support, community support, to just say, you know, you can speak out, you can tell your story, you have a community that supports you in that, and the legal system will decide, you know, what that outcome is. So the Section 1983 initiative is brand new. It is seeking funding to advance its missions and goals over the next 3 years, but specifically the first year. We're requesting funding for a 1-year part-time salary for an executive director, some minimal space and equipment costs and supplies. This is very heavy on education, community awareness, events like materials to educate and inform people. And so that cost comes to about $95,000 for the first year, and I sent you guys all an email about that. So I would just ask you to consider, as you're looking at helping people advocate for housing or helping for their own housing needs, or helping people look at the special education system and working with parents to advocate for their rights, that in a community there's also a place for people to advocate, learn more about, know what to do with their civil rights related to the Fourth Amendment. And as Anthony Gay put it, we are all aware that systemic racism exists. If we are about our community and alleviating the systemic racism in our community, we should seek to educate and inform our community members about their civil rights. Civil rights are essential. By educating people in our community, no matter what race, creed, or color, we will be informing and inspiring people to lift their heads up and inspire hope. So I thank you for your consideration, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you. Thurgood Brooks.
How y'all doing? I'm Thurgood Brooks, resident of Rock Island. First, I'd like to thank the council and mayor and city manager for allowing the time. Won't be before you long. I did attend the last city council meeting, May 24th. Thanks for the note there. We introduced, we emailed you all the following day, you all being the mayor, city manager, and our several council members, our proposal. Thank you, Mr. Tweet. I was opportunity to meet with you, I think last week, and I also have had dialogue with 4 council persons, and I'll be meeting with a 5th this week. I haven't heard back. Well, one spoke to me briefly before the meeting here. I haven't heard back from one, or you yet, Mr. Tomes. But I do look forward to further that discussion. And I don't say that to be condescending. I say that just being factual. But my reason for being here today is not to a further introduction or to open a dialogue here to have a deeper discussion behind the proposal. But I think how in which we're doing this, speaking of Mr. Tweed especially, speaking to individuals, and then individuals being tasked with the responsibility of communicating said message to a third party, I think it prolongs things. I think we understand how the game of telephone worked when we were kids, and how messages might be either misinterpreted, not spoke on, or misunderstood. And it's became clear to me in my dialogue with the council persons and Mr. Tweet that I spoke with, that there's some questions that are being asked from our proposal, but you can't get answers from perspective without speaking to said persons. And so with that being said, I also think it's important that we are able to be on record and be open and transparent, because that's how I believe we'll perhaps eclipse that 60-day mark. Because I do understand and appreciate the work you all do beyond my one asking, because I'm sure I'm not the sole person emailing you and asking to meet with you and talk with you. I know that. But what I will ask, if we are serious, and I do believe we are, I'm hopeful. If we're serious, I would hope that we would consider, toward the conclusion of this meeting, and move forward with a study session behind the said mission. I think that's appropriate. I think it will put everything out on the table. I think it will allow all of you all to do your jobs in a way in which it's intended to do, which is to be able to convene and meet and as one body to discuss in such important items such as this. And I said before, it's hard to do that at a one-on-one level and hold anybody accountable and move forward in a real way. And so that's my reason for being here, because I appreciate your work, as I said before. I hope to hear back from you very soon, because as I said before on May 24th, it's not us against you. We're in this community together. If I cut any of you, you bleed red, and so will I. If I cut you too deep, you die just like I would. And so I don't anticipate or expect you guys to look at my askings and my community who empowers me, expects me to speak to truth and be bold behind it and be fair. I expect you guys to treat our askings with the respect that we're giving you, with the integrity that we're giving you, and with a sense of urgency that such articles and what we're asking requires. And so again, I'll end with my asking very politely and respectfully for you all to call for a study session so it can be on record and so we can actually move beyond side conversations that we have to have, because we can't have you all here in one room without it being in a setting such as this. And I think that would be most appropriate. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Anthony Gay.
Greetings, City Council. In the Bible it says, without a vision the people perish. Helen Keller, who was blind, once indicated, the greatest tragedy in life is to have sight and no vision. In order for our city to be successful, we have to have a vision like an architect. A part of that vision must include the well-being and civil rights of the citizens of Rock Island. We cannot have a vision for the community if we overfund the police and leave the leftovers off the king's table for the community to fight over. We cannot have a vision for the community if we turn a blind eye to the police brutality in our community. We cannot have a vision for the community if we allow police brutality to be the response of first resort in our community. I hate to say this, Rock Island City Council, but our City Council has not done enough to protect the citizens of Rock Island from police brutality. And honestly, I think some people, not all, in our leadership would love to sweep police brutality under the rug. But we cannot and will not allow this. I am here tonight to inform you that we have formulated a petition that each of you will receive a copy of, requesting that the U.S. Department of Justice open an investigation into the Rock Island Police Department. I want you to know personally that some of the things that the Rock Island Police do are horrible and mind-boggling. For example, on one occasion, a white female filed a complaint indicating that a male police officer touched her 15-year-old daughter's butt and thighs. I have heard the same complaints from other women. How is it that we are allowing the male police to frisk teenage girls? How is it that we are allowing the male police to frisk women and humiliate, degrade, and embarrass and abuse them? It is because we are allowing the Rock Island Police to operate in a culture of impunity. Our city is allowing the Rock Island Police to misuse force against citizens of Rock Island with impunity. Our city is allowing Rock Island Police to illegally seize citizens' money and phones with impunity. Our city is allowing the Rock Island Police to commit unjustified homicides with impunity. Rock Island City Council, I will leave you with this. Frederick Douglass, after escaping slavery, became a pivotal voice and advocating for citizenship for blacks in America. He once said, where there is no struggle, there is no progress. Power concedes nothing without a demand. From here on out, we demand justice.
Thank you. Jennifer Johnson.
Good evening. This was very short notice for me, and I wish that I was a little more well-spoken, I suppose. My issues seem to be much smaller than the ones that came before me. However, as a resident of Rock Island, I will tell you in the last 2 months between receiving my property tax bill and now my water bill tonight in the mail, that's almost $500 because of a sewer charge that has more than doubled. It is making it, one, less attractive, and two, almost impossible for me, a person that does have means and a well-paying job, to remain a citizen of the city of Rock Island. I've talked budget in the past. I've reached out to members of the council and city administration in the past. I happen to live in an area that it's 11th Street, you know, good or bad, however you take it. And I will tell you that it's to the point that it's almost embarrassing for me that we have allowed our city to fall in the state that we have. I have roads on either side of me and an alley that's my only egress to my home, and this goes for my neighbors as well, that's decaying, that's raised. We have cones, I have pictures of it, in the middle of one of our roads of access that was literally caving in, and the response to fix that was to come and dump a bunch of asphalt and place three-foot cones that have remained in the middle of my road, our road, for 4 months. So I just welcome all of you to take a drive around Rock Island and tell me how proud you are to actually live here, because I grew up in Moline, but I chose to live in Rock Island for 20 years, and I'm now to the point that I'm choosing what's a better and more viable option for me. And I feel for my community members who don't have the means that I do, who are minimum wage employees, who were fortunate enough to become homeowners, who can't keep up with the rise in taxes and support services that are being charged to residents without any visible benefit whatsoever. I talked to Ms. Gilbert on the phone. She's the one that sent me here to all of you, and this may not seem important, but I promise you that I have a voice and I'm going to use it. I've already been on social media. I'm going to reach out to my legislators outside of the city of Rock Island, because this is alarming to me, and I feel like it's unique specifically to our community, and I'm not sure that we have a justification for these expenses to the residents without beautification to our community. Make it feel safe, make it feel welcoming, draw business in, so that I'm not having to foot the bill for the services that we're not providing because we can't attract business. So my point in coming here was just to say, please keep in mind that these things are going to drive people out of your community to the extent that you're not going to have residents here that are going to fund the police force, your water, your sewer, and it's going to become a place that's going to be impossible to live unless we have some kind of change. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And that's all that is signed up to speak. Is there anybody virtually? I don't know if we're still doing virtually.
There isn't anybody out there.
Nobody out there virtually? Okay. All right. We'll move on to item number 7.
Minutes of the May 24th, 2021 City Council meeting.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second. It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert,
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson,
Yes.
Alderman Parker,
Aye.
Poulos,
Aye.
Geenan,
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Thank you. Item 8 is Rock Island update. Couple items real quick. Free concert in Blackhawk State Park. The Rock Island Public Library will host a free concert in Blackhawk State Park on Saturday, June 19th from noon to 1. The Quad City Symphony Orchestra Ensemble Quartet will bring their music to the great outdoors for all ages next to Singing Bird Lodge Natural Center. Participants should bring their own seating. In the event of rain, the concert will move inside Singing Bird Center. The concert was made possible by the generous donation of Carol and Jim Horstman. Quad City Botanical Center. The Quad City Botanical Center will have free admission for dads in honor of Father's Day this Sunday, June 20th, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come enjoy the various gardens or the train ride from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Blackhawk State Historical Site. The Blackhawk State Historical Site is offering a free family event on Saturday, June 26th from 10 a.m. to noon near Singing Bird Center. Activities will include playing nature bingo, using your senses to explore the natural environment for the alphabet scavenger hunt, and then using what you find to make a plaster plaque to take home. Space is limited for this free event, so participants must call to pre-register at 309-788-9536. Thank you. And actually, one item I did forget on here, Moses, you wanted to talk about the boxing, and that didn't make this. I apologize. Linda was off, and did you want to comment about that now or later?
I can give a brief update, but I don't have the document in front of me.
And
the Rock Island Boxing Club, they have a boxer who actually qualified for nationals, Rashawn Lee. I apologize if I get his name wrong, but I know I think it's Rashawn Lee. He's actually ranked number 2 in the nation. He's going to be boxing for the United States here this summer. So we just wanted to give a congratulations to him for all the hard work he's been doing. Rock Island Boxing Club has been doing an excellent job with the resources they have in order to get those young men into that environment. That's huge.
It is huge. Good job. Thank you. All right. Item number 9.
Presentation by the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police recognizing Lieutenant Timothy J. McLeod as a certified eligible police chief.
If you'd like to come up, give us an explanation and presentation, that'd be great.
Well, good evening, one and all. Mr. Mayor and council members, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of time to honor one of your finest. Lieutenant Timothy McLeod has attained the certification, certified eligible police chief through the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police. My name's Dean Stigmeyer, by the way, to introduce myself. I'm the chief of police in the booming metropolis of Maple Park. We are a community of about 1,500 people, so about 2 hours east of here. I am also a vice president with the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police. And I want to tell you a little bit about what this certification means. It's a very extensive process. Lieutenant McLeod took a written exam. The exam has 3 texts that are suggested reading. It tests you on criminal law, juvenile law, traffic law, civil law, policies and procedures, budgeting, scheduling. As I said, it's a very, very intensive test. And upon successful completion of the written exam, then they go for an oral board in front of 3 certified chiefs, and they have to present their case to those chiefs to move forward. The candidate is not finished at that time. The candidate then goes through a background examination. We check into his activities, his educational activities, his professional activities, things that he's doing in the community, to better himself. And it is with great honor that we're going to be presenting this to Lieutenant McLeod. Lieutenant McLeod has a master's degree from Western Illinois University in criminal justice. He also has a bachelor's degree, and he asked me not to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. And his degree is in art. So if you need any painting done, you can do that. Not a problem. He's also a graduate of the National FBI Academy, and he has done wonderful things right here at Rock Island. And I think you should be very honored and privileged to have him working for you. Lieutenant, would you step
Come on in. Yep.
So it is with great honor that I give this plaque to Lieutenant McLeod. I'll read it to you so you guys can understand what it says. Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police presents Timothy J. McLeod the designation of certified eligible. Now, as soon as he becomes a chief, that certified eligible is removed and he becomes a certified chief of police. You have demonstrated a high level of competence, professional excellence, and community service, and have achieved the standards of performance in the areas of leadership, management, public relations, and ethics, as set forth by the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police in its voluntary police chief certification program. Now, this is dated November 18th of 2020 because he actually became certified eligible last year, but because of our pandemic, we weren't able to get this award to him until tonight. Lieutenant, congratulations.
Would you like to have a picture with the family or up here? You want a photo?
Yeah, why don't you get it up here?
Randy, you gonna take a picture? Very good. We will move on. Item number 10.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding an ordinance rezoning from R4 multi-unit residential to PUD planned unit development. The property located approximately at 2001 7th Avenue, parcel 095289. Second reading.
Move to pass the ordinance.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert,
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson,
Aye.
Alderman Parker,
Aye.
Poulos,
Aye.
Geenan,
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
7-0. Motion carries.
Item number 11.
Claims A through F. A, report from the Human Resources Department regarding payment in the amount of $23,574.44 to David G. Morrison, City Attorney, for services rendered during the month of May 2021. B, report from the Martin Luther King Jr. Center regarding payment in the amount of $58,240.36 to Quad Cities Golf Classic Charitable Foundation for the Birdies for Charity program. C, report from the Martin Luther King Jr. Center regarding payment in the amount of $7,350.00 to Rock Island Parks and Recreation for the rental of 2 rooms in the Rock Island Fitness and Activity Center. D, report from the Martin Luther King Jr. Center regarding payment in the amount of $55,920.00 to Youth Hope for Youth Services to complete the fiscal year 2021 contract with the Illinois Department of Human Services. E, report from the Public Works Department regarding payment in the amount of $9,654.78 to McClintock Trucking and Excavating Incorporated, Silvis, Illinois, for the Sewer Lateral Repair Program, Project 2564, for services provided at 2048 45th Street. And F, report from the Public Works Department regarding payment in the amount of $19,754.92 to McClintock Trucking and Excavating Incorporated, Silvis, Illinois, for the Water Service Repair Program, Project 2526, for services provided at 9415 13th Street West, 2224 9th Street, and 2101 Stadium Drive.
Move to approve the claims item A through F.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
I need to recuse myself from this vote. Sorry, I did not give you heads up. But nothing wrong with A through D, but items E and F. I need to recuse myself due to the nature of my employment.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert,
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson,
Aye.
Alderman Poulos,
Aye.
Geenan,
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
6-0, motion carries. G, report from the Public Works Department regarding payment in the amount of $20,300.31 to Valley Construction Incorporated of Rock Island, Illinois, for work performed on the 24th Street Water Tower Overflow Improvement, Project 2740.
Move to approve claims, item G.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion?
I also need to recuse myself from this one due to the nature of my employment.
Okay.
Explain to the
Yes.
public what is it all about.
You broke up. Can you say that again, please?
I'm going to explain to the public.
Mike will come up.
Okay, Mike, if you want to explain, I guess you want to explain it.
So this is for work done at our 24th Street water tower. There's an overflow storm sewer pipe that handles the water from the overflow of the water tower tank. And the storm sewer pipe runs down into the ravine to the west of that property, and the storm sewer pipe began to fall off on that hillside, causing erosion. So we replaced the flare-end section of the pipe and some of the wall area behind the apartments. So that's what this is involves.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Been motion, seconded. Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert, Alderwoman Swanson,
Aye.
Alderman Poulos,
Aye.
Alderman Geenan,
Aye.
Alderman Robinson.
Aye.
6-0, motion carries.
Item number 12.
Claims for the week of May 21st through May 27th, 2021, in the amount of $915,858.98. May 28th through June 3rd, 2021, in the amount of $310,763.13. And June 4th through June 10th, 2021, in the amount of $502,013.23. And payroll for the weeks of May 17th through May 20th, 2021, in the amount of $1,554,479.61.
Allow the claims and payroll.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert,
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson,
Aye.
Alderman Parker,
Aye.
Poulos,
Aye.
Geenan,
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item number 13.
Report from the Public Works Department regarding a construction and maintenance agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation to make improvement to traffic signals located at the intersection of Illinois 92 or Andalusia Road and the Rock Island Parkway.
Motion to approve the attached State of Illinois Department of Transportation construction and maintenance agreement and authorize the city manager to execute the documents.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert,
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson,
Aye.
Alderman Parker,
Aye.
Poulos,
Aye.
Geenan,
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 14.
Report from the Public Works Department regarding a cost estimate from Advantage Tree Service, Davenport, Iowa, in the amount of $27,654.54 for tree trimming and removal of dead, dying, or dangerous trees in the downtown area using downtown TIF funds.
Move to authorize the expenditure of $27,584.54 from the downtown TIF as recommended.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I see in the memo that it says that downtown property owners that will be affected will be notified. Does that mean that they have not yet been notified?
It's my understanding that the downtown manager, Jack Collin, has talked to most of the owners. There is no issues with the work being done. I did speak with him late Friday, and he said he had one or two other businesses to contact. But the majority of the businesses have been contacted and are aware of the work to be performed.
Okay, and then I may be getting ahead of us, but is there a plan in place to replace these trees with living trees?
Not in the immediate future. Depending on what is done with the street reconstructions, we can't put them in the same area. The plan is to stump grind down 12 inches and then put back the pavement in these areas. We could move them to a different location, but again, not knowing what streets will be done in the downtown using the TIF funds, we want to wait for a plan for that. So I would say not in the immediate future, but soon. But yes, they will be replaced, just not sure when and at what locations.
Okay.
So we did discuss that option, and as Mike said, it was decided that we would do this first since the plan wasn't ready and we needed to remove some of these immediately. And
Sure.
Jack was part of that discussion.
Okay, thanks for looping in the downtown manager.
Yep. Good. Roll call, please.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert,
Aye.
Alderman Swanson,
Aye.
Alderman Parker,
Aye.
Poulos,
Aye.
Geenan,
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item number 15.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding an amendment to the Quad Cities Enterprise Zone Ordinance number 46-2020 related to the addition of the Reynolds Ford property in East Moline, Illinois to the Enterprise Zone Intergovernmental Agreement. First reading.
Move to suspend the rules and approve the amendment to the intergovernmental agreement and pass the amended ordinance for the Quad City Enterprise Zone?
Second.
Moved and second. Is there a discussion?
Is there any way that we can, how do we get this information out to the public of what this is? Because I had no idea what it is either. Just what it entails. Because if I'm listening, the city of Rock Island is voting on something that's going to affect East Moline. So I think we just need to explain to them what the process is and kind of how it got involved. I don't know, you can't go into.
Yeah, sure. It's a business incentive, so we have up to 15 square miles that we can have in the Illinois Quad Cities. So there's a number of cities that participate, not just Rock Island. There's an independent board that decides when to add areas and when to remove areas. And the biggest advantage, any work that's being done in those areas, any work that businesses do, they get a break on their sales tax. So basically it's 7%. They save 7% on their building materials. For large users like 3M, they also get a break on some of the utility taxes. But so it's an economic incentive that we've used it many times in Rock Island. All communities use it. But anytime they want to add something to it, because we do have a finite limit, then it has to be approved once by the board, and then every community has to okay it.
Intergovernmental agreement.
And it's on our website. If someone goes to across the top business, I think it's one of the business incentives, and you can click on it and see where it is in Rock Island and all the other cities.
It has to be contingent to touching an existing zone also, so it can't be just an island here and an island there.
So there's a lot of
those
3-foot
zones.
sections that run, connecting it. But we have, the last time we extended it, I think it was for the Old Country Market. I think that was an extension we did for that one.
Okay, thank you.
Had lots of businesses use it over the years.
The whole zone was renewed 2 years ago?
Yeah, we were out without a zone for a little bit, and then we went jointly with everybody. And
We did a brand new zone. And we have some room to expand that. We left room when we did that new zone and permit, and they submitted that to the state. There was room left as far as the mileage goes to be able to add in different cities as we felt necessary. All right. Roll call.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert,
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson,
Aye.
Alderman Parker,
Aye.
Poulos,
Aye.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item number 16.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding the sale of city-owned property located at 1018 11th Avenue parcel 095-572, pin 160-210-5018, to Magali Oliveros Rojas and Onichil Cruz Arroyo for $1 plus closing costs. First reading. My apologies if I botched that.
Motion to approve the sale is recommended. Authorize the city manager to execute the sale agreement and consider it ordinance.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert,
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson,
Aye.
Alderman Parker,
Aye.
Poulos,
Aye.
Geenan,
Aye.
and Robinson.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 17.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding a sale of city-owned property located at 715 4th Avenue, parcel 091-804, pin 073-440-8003, to Reverend Dr. Jacqueline J. Cunningham Walls for $1 plus closing costs. First reading.
Motion to approve the sale is recommended. Authorize the city manager to execute the sale agreement and consider the ordinance.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Is this the parcel that currently has an orchard on it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's been city-owned?
Yes. She has permission to plant the trees some years ago.
Right. And is it the Reverend's intention to keep it available to the public?
That was the plan I read.
Okay. Because all last pandemic, I rode my bike down there and had a lot of fruit, and it was nice. So she's going to put up a fence. I don't like this.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert,
Aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Alderman Parker,
Aye.
Poulos,
Aye.
Geenan,
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 18.
Report from the Traffic and Engineering Committee regarding a request for a handicap parking space at 1506 33rd Street. First reading.
Move to approve the request as recommended and consider the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert,
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson,
Aye.
Alderman Parker,
Aye.
Poulos,
Aye.
Geenan,
Aye.
Robinson. 7-0, motion carries.
Item number 20.
Report from the Traffic and Engineering Committee regarding a request for a handicap parking space at 725 22nd Street. First reading.
That's a correction. That should be item number 19.
Yeah.
Did I skip one? I apologize.
Move to suspend the rules and approve the request as recommended and pass the ordinance.
Second.
And second. Any discussion? And this is for item 20, correct?
No.
19.
Or 19, excuse me.
This is the handicap parking
Handicap, okay.
on
I
22nd
apologize.
Street.
Other hand, handicap. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert,
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson,
Aye.
Alderman Parker,
Aye.
Poulos,
Aye.
Geenan,
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Now item 20.
Report from the Public Works Department regarding a resolution declaring the City of Rock Island's support for the submittal of a RAISE grant application for US 67 or 11th Street between 31st Avenue and 45th Avenue.
Motion to approve the resolution declaring support for submittal of a RAISE grant application for US 67, 11th Street between 31st Avenue and 45th Avenue.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Could we have Mr. Bartels come up and describe what a RISE grant is and what we're doing? Please.
I didn't hear the question. I apologize.
Can you just explain what a RAISE grant is and what we are requesting and what this is all about?
So the RAISE grant is it's for rebuilding American infrastructure with sustainability and equity, and it is for road, rail, transit, and port projects. And so we've applied for approximately $9 million, which has a match of 90-10, so we would have $1 million match if we were awarded the work. And I believe the work, if awarded, would have to be completed by 2024 or 5. I'm not sure on that date for sure, but I think that's the date.
And a rough idea of the scope of the work?
So as it says here in the memo, it'd be for the existing water main to replace repairs of the existing sanitary and storm sewer system, retaining walls, and streetlight upgrades. We would also be improving the pedestrian bicycle access along 11th Street corridor. We would undergo the lane diet from 4 to 3 lanes and have a bi-directional turn lane in the middle of the 11th Street. And again, I've talked about this before, but it would be, we have received general approval from IDOT when we did a previous grant for this, and they are aware of the lane reduction and what we want to do with the bike path, and they are on board with that.
Of course, they're on board with approving the grant.
I would hope that we would get, a little extra perk because it is their street.
Yes, exactly.
What's the equity component to it?
The equity?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I could find out for you.
It seems to me that if it's included in the grant title, it's probably important in terms, does it deal with job training or?
The grant is very long, but I will certainly find that out.
I'm just curious what the equity piece is. Is it based on geography or is it based on who will be working on the job? That's what, you can get it to me in a little bit, I guess.
Part of it is geography, and Denise at Bi-State told me that this was a very good project, so if we don't get it this time, we'll be applying again for it.
So I'm just curious what the component's about in terms of if there's a job training component or diversity on jobs included in
There is a job training component of it as well.
Thank you.
And this is a federal grant from USDOT?
It's a federal.
Keep our fingers crossed.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great project. Roll call.
Alderman Hurt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert?
Aye.
Okay. Alderwoman Swanson?
Aye.
Alderman Parker?
Aye.
Poulos?
Aye.
Geenan?
Aye.
Robinson?
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 21.
Report from the Public Works Department regarding a resolution declaring the City of Rock Island's support for the submittal of a raise grant application for Illinois 92, or Andalusia Road, and US 67.
Motion to approve the resolution declaring support for submittal of a raise grant application for Illinois 92, Andalusia Road, and US 67.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Hurt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert? Alderwoman Gilbert? Pass. Alderwoman Swanson?
Aye.
Alderman Parker?
Aye.
Poulos?
Aye.
Geenan?
Aye.
Robinson?
Aye.
She's back on.
Alderwoman Gilbert, do you have a vote for number 21?
Aye. Can you not hear me?
We can now.
Aye.
We could not earlier. We do now.
Okay, 7-0, motion carries.
Item 22.
Report from the Public Works Department regarding a request from Quad City Coffee and Pancake House to install a vestibule within the 19th Street right-of-ways at 1831 3rd Avenue.
Move to allow the Quad City Coffee and Pancake House to install the vestibule within the 19th Street right-of-ways as the above referenced addresses.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Hurt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert?
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson?
Aye.
Aye.
Alderman Parker?
Aye.
Poulos?
Aye.
Geenan?
Aye.
Robinson?
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 23.
Report from the Public Works Department regarding a request from Cook Fertilizer, LLC, to become the new operator for the foreign trade zone at the Rock Island River Terminal Corporation facility located at 700 Mill Street.
Move to approve the request from Coke Fertilizer LLC to utilize the foreign trade zone designation and direct the city attorney to prepare the attestation letter.
Second.
What is that?
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Hurt?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert?
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson?
Aye.
Alderman Parker?
Aye.
Poulos?
Aye.
Geenan?
Aye.
And Robinson?
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
$5 word right there.
24.
Report from the Mayor's Office regarding the reappointments of David Van Landingen and Todd Linscott to the Beautification Commission, and Brett Hitchcock, Carolyn Kruger, Jody Kavensky, Pat Stoley, and Brandy Vanderwall to the Arts Commission.
Motion to approve the reappointments as recommended.
Second. Second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert,
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson,
Aye.
Alderman Parker,
Aye.
Poulos,
Aye.
Geenan,
Aye.
and Robinson.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.
Item 25, other business. Want me to?
Something in here?
Yeah, go for it. And I will.
So just an update of where we are after the meeting we had last week. I've talked to some people regarding their abilities to assist the council, and we're getting some more information from that. I'm meeting with U of I tomorrow. I know Alderwoman Gilbert has met with them, and they may not be interested in the whole process, but part of the process. The RFQ draft is in work, and I hope to have that to you Wednesday afternoon for a consultant or a person that would be able to lead us through this if you want to go that route. I did, since the last meeting, have been contacted by a couple aldermen who would like to consider a slightly different approach where there, prior to the unplugged meetings, there are individual ward meetings facilitated by one group. So at an alderman's request, I did reach out to WVIK. They're going to get me a price tomorrow, but they would be willing to set up all of the electronics for these and sort of manage that and have a reporter there. And then I think some of the other people I've been talking to would be willing to be the facilitator for all of that. And I guess I'm curious if that, maybe we can discuss that here and decide if that's the route we would like to look at.
Well, that was my idea, and the rationale for that was I've been getting a lot of calls because last week we said something about a consultant, and it's very clear no one wants us to hire a consultant. It was more in terms of we need to communicate early on, leading up to the unplugged. At least in my ward, I could use some help. People want to know, what is the American Rescue Plan? What is it supposed to be used for? What could we use it for? What's the process in terms of the city? How are we going to deploy it? I think we have different ideas of how we might want to do that as a council. I think it's important for the constituents to be able to know what ways we're thinking of going just in terms of as we spend it. And this would be a good way just to keep everyone informed in a way to say, this is where we're at.
Thoughts on that, if that's the route we want to take?
So basically, every ward will have their own ward meeting facilitated by somebody other than the alderman in that ward?
If they want. I mean, my purpose was thinking of, if we're gathering information, having a party that could help us with that and compile it for us and to help, assist us in the meeting. The staff is kind of too busy, and I don't expect them to help. But if we could get some help with it, then we have a consistent thing in terms of what we're wanting to listen to from our wards.
So the facilitator wouldn't take the role of the alderman, but they would be there just to make sure there's sort of a common thread in all of the ward meetings and
if WVIK wants
gathering the information.
Facebook Live or whatever, someone's monitoring the chat for us.
Mm-hmm.
That's in terms of having us as council have some support in terms of how we can start informing the public on where we're at in the American Plan Rescue. I think leading up to a big event that was just the Unplugged is a great one, but I think first we have to, at least I could use some help explaining to folks in my ward what exactly is it and what's the process.
I would support something like that, but I think we also need to take it further beyond just ward meetings. I think we need to have with the different sectors in the city, like financial representatives, nonprofits, small businesses, philanthropy representatives, nation representatives. We need the input of everyone in the community.
Right. So those individuals or those entities would be invited to be asking questions and trying to get an understanding of it. Correct? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay.
I'm saying we need
We lost you.
And mine was just for this one leading up to where we are in the process. This isn't something that's a long term, it's a one shot. So at least we can set in the right foot in the right direction about a transparent process of how we'll use this funding and communicate it with our residents.
Is the intent, if I may, is the intent to have this meeting before we talk to a consultant or after we talk to the consultant? I mean, the timing could be, if we talk before we talk with the consultant, then we may be giving out the wrong information to our constituents. Or would it be wiser to wait until after we talk to the consultant so that we have, for lack of a better word, our ducks in a row before we go forward to communicate with our constituents? I'm not sure. You know what the
This is
council's
who's going to answer the
pleasure is.
questions. If question says, can it be used as loans? Someone's got to know that factually. How did that process?
Well, I mean, okay, yeah, and I guess that will come later. This is an ongoing process of us trying to use this money wisely into our communities. Are we unanimous that we're going to hire a consultant to lead us through this? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
And I think that's okay. But I think the residents need to know we don't have plans already to where we're going to spend the money. We don't even have plans how we're going to deploy it yet.
Correct.
That's important to because the one thing I know is that from at least walking in my ward, people have a lot to tell you how they were impacted by COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, for us to be able to, this funding is for our residents. It's for everyone to recover from COVID. I would like some help, some administrative help in terms of communicating this to my ward. And so I'm not sure if having a consultant first to do this. Again, I didn't want a consultant. I wanted a partnership to
facilitator to help.
Filter.
Because it would be someone different probably if we're going to do it right away. It would be someone different. It would just be someone to help.
I don't think we're collecting the ideas of where you want to spend the money. If that comes up, we could say that'll be later and down the line.
Facilitator is not the one answering the questions. They're just keeping things moving along during the meeting,
right,
and making sure that it's communicated, whether it be Facebook Live or who knows what. That's what the facilitator is, not to answer questions. The answer to the questions, if there's a question answer, or just to listen. If it's just listen, that's fine. Could be whether it be the city manager or whether it be finance director or whoever it is, the best answer we can. But really, it's to more let them express their feelings and let them know that we haven't done these things. We're open to all of them. Is that right?
Kind of.
It goes.
And that's right.
Well, I think when I talked to Jared at WVIK, in terms of how do they listen to the community? How do they listen to their listeners? How do they, gather feedback in a way? And they try creative things. And I would say, and perhaps maybe when that proposal comes back from Randy, to see what they would recommend in terms of, because I don't know, Mayor, I don't know.
Okay, that's fine.
I asked the experts.
That's fine. No, I'm just trying to understand.
It just goes in line with, I think, what Alderman Parker had mentioned before about a communication plan. If we don't have a communication plan, we're stuck trying to figure out the best way to get the information out. Mm-hmm. If we had a communication plan, we would already be able to have something in front of us so we can execute it immediately. So that's something that we definitely need to start looking at. From this issue, just use it as a template and kind of build from there. We don't know how to distribute information correctly. That's one of our biggest issues is the communication. So if we had that plan in place, it always will change based on the incident, but then we can execute that, get that out to the public immediately.
It doesn't stop the whole idea of doing the unplugs anyway to reach massive amounts of people. I feel it's a lot of redundancy, and if we're going through the effort to get 3 unplugs put together with massive amounts of people, I just feel like we're being very redundant, and I feel like we can get the same information out to the city as a whole.
The difference is this, though. If I'm holding a ward meeting and I say something a certain way because we have no communication plan, so I'm going to execute it my way, it's going to be different from when you speak at your ward meeting. If we had a communication plan, we'll be consistent of how we're explaining things to the community.
Isn't that why we're doing the unplugged? Because we're all together and we're all present?
We are doing an unplugged, but this is for our individual ward meetings he was talking about, not the unplugged.
But every ward is all still part of the city as a whole.
Well, there's two.
And I agree with wanting to get input. My concern is this is the city's money, and it's to be used for rescue and recovery. And yes, it's important to get everybody's input on how it's affected them My concern is certain ward meetings may give a false impression based on the tone of the meeting on what the funds can and will be used for. And I agree with you. We don't have a good communication plan. We also don't have the same answer for all of the questions. So at my ward meeting, I may indicate, yes, these funds should be used for this, that, and the other thing. And yes, we should have all these different people help us decide how these funds should be spent. But then at another ward meeting, the message will be entirely different. And I think at that point, we're going to cause an awful lot of confusion, whereas, and I'm all for everybody having ward meetings to discuss issues in their wards. That's totally fine. But as far as these funds, I think it's important to have them at the Unplugged, that discussion at Unplugged, where everybody hears the exact same message from everyone, and there's no confusion, and there's no he said, she said, this kind of thing, which I think will set up an even bigger issue than we already have with trying to decide how to distribute funds.
And that's one, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's my concern, is that I'm all for having, I would love to get my constituents in the 6th Ward together and discuss this. Absolutely. I've reached out, and you get a handful of people that will respond. Mm-hmm. My biggest concern, and I think most of us would agree, that we don't want to put out 2 different stories. So we don't want to create the problem as you were just suggesting.
I mean, the reality is
timing is important.
Right. And we can't all decide on how it should be spent. And I think to me, that's the biggest concern, is among the council, we can't decide, which is why we're getting a consultant, because we can't all decide how they should be spent. So when you have individuals hosting their own discussions, clearly their ideas will be put forward, which may or may not be the same as other people in the group.
What I'm hearing from you, Alderman Geenan, is, so we kind of have 2 conversations going on. We have one conversation about how are we going to spend this money, and then we have another conversation about how are we communicating, which spending this money is going to have a communication aspect of it, right? We want to get input and put output. But I think what Alderman Geenan is referring to is more so communicating to the public as to how we're coming up with the plan as to how we're going to spend this money. Because from what I'm hearing from you, Dave, you're having constituents that don't understand where we are in the process of developing the plan. And you're wanting assistance in communicating to the public. We're not hiring a consultant. What do we mean by consultant? I mean, already this is spiraling. What do we mean by consultant? We had that conversation last time, right? So we're having 2 sort of conversation. One, as part of a plan on how we're going to figure out how to spend this money, it would include a public input process like an Unplugged. But how do we solicit input from the public? And I think Dave's ask here was maybe a ward meeting to help us figure out how to come up with the plan.
Because ultimately, we will have to vote on a plan. And I need help hearing from my residents about what plan they would like our direction to go to. We don't have consensus on a plan yet. And so I can host individual ward meetings by myself. I have representation funds to do that. What I'll gather will help inform us when we decide on what plan to make. And that was the intention of what I had suggested to Randy. All of the other stuff, I don't have any answers for. No one does.
Right.
We're going to work all that out together. And if hiring a consultant or establishing an office, I mean, I have plenty of ideas of what we could do. You guys know me. I'm not going to bring them up here. There's not the time for that. We have a process.
I think initially we were talking about just the ward meetings were just to give our constituents an idea of what ARP is and kind of like the guidelines that we're following.
That one
we're not trying to gather data. I mean, we're going to get that, but that's not the time we're doing that. We're just providing information because we don't do that too much. So this is an excellent time for us to gather information. And of course, at Unplug, hopefully we'll have a plan of how we're going to present that to everyone at Unplug and accept that input back. But initially, all we were talking about is at the ward meetings, giving a diagram of what ARP is, just scoping that out for the residents so they can understand when they hear ARP, American Rescue Plan, they know what the guidelines we have to follow, because they don't. They think it's just we can spend it on anything.
Fix the roads.
And so,
But I think-
and that makes sense to me. I don't have a problem with that. But is it best to do it ward by ward, or is it best to do the whole city with that at one time?
Go both. I mean, it can go both ways. It depends.
Okay, that's what I just was curious.
It all depends on your constituents. Right.
Trying to be
Well,
efficient.
I'm hearing two different things here. I'm hearing your side where we're trying to get the information out about the guidelines. I'm hearing Alderman Geenan's about getting suggestions on the plan. So I feel like we've got so much mixture of messages, and I'm afraid that if we start doing seven different ward meetings, and you tell them one thing or you say one thing, and we get to an unplugged situation, and then you've got, well, my alderman said this, and it just seems like a recipe for a lot of confusion, and that's my opinion.
Again, that happens when you don't plan these things out, though.
And
That's exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't plan it out, that's what's going to happen.
Right, and my concern is, and I stated this before, I have a primarily residential ward. Well, what my ward wants is they want a cash payment to each of them. Well, okay, that's fine, that's great. That's not the intent of these funds, not in any way, shape, or form is that the intent of these funds. But my ward's wants, needs, and wish list is very different than Dylan's with the downtown. And so my feeling is, if you have the ward meetings to start discussing the funds, you're going to get tribalism happening. If you have the unplugged, then maybe something my ward residents are going to bring up when they're listening to the issues in the downtown area or in different areas of the cities, all of a sudden it's going to start to resonate that, oh, wow, there's bigger issues than I realize. And so for me, that diversity, that inclusion of everybody in the city is super important, because otherwise you're going to have 7 little tribes of what all we want to have. And you can explain what the plan is, you can explain what the fund is, and I guarantee you what follows after A, the explanation, will be B, the questions of, well, how are you going to spend it? And as an alderman, you can't stand there and say, well, I'm not really prepared to answer that because I don't know how. You're automatically going to go ahead and say how you want to expend them. And then
I wouldn't do that.
I think
I wouldn't do that.
Dylan, do you mind?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so from listening to everybody, it sounds like whether it's unplugged, ward meetings, whatever, we need to pick a spokesperson for the city who will be answering, who is knowledgeable about the ARP guidelines, and who can answer those specific questions. And that person and only that person answers those types of questions. We have to identify that person.
Or city manager just volunteered.
Well, either the city manager or the mayor, since the mayor is the elected head of the city.
Spokesperson. Well, and I think this is why I suggested that we hire a professional. And whether we want to call them a consultant, call them an office within the city, whether we call them a contracted employee, I don't care what we call them, but the reason in which I proposed that we hire a professional that can facilitate these conversations, that's mindful of the certain constituencies that we represent, and to say, here's how we would recommend you go about soliciting public input. But the conversation that we're having is too far down the road. What I have been focused on is, how do we get there? How do we come up with the plan that will include how do we solicit public input, right? And so when your constituents are saying, we don't want a consultant, explain, well, clearly if you watch a city council meeting, we need help from a professional that understands communication and facilitation, how to thoughtfully do the things that we want to do. But we are having a lot of difficulty doing that. So we need somebody that can come up with the plan, work with us. I mean, it's not like they're going to say, okay, spend the money on this, spend the money on that. They are just going to help us come to some final decision as to what we're doing here.
They're going to help us explain it to the citizens, too, on how it works.
Exactly.
That's
So
the issue. They're the experts on how this law works.
So then you would see that that person helping us hold these meetings and guiding us through the entire process, not two different people, one person to work on the meetings and then another person to, okay. I mean, that slows down the process then, because you go out with an RFQ, you're talking probably late July by the time you award that. So things would start in August.
And that's, I mean, and I'm only speaking for myself.
But we could put out, a mailer to the city and just outline our process.
If we don't like that plan, and if we would like to do a different plan where we just do what some of our neighbors are doing, where they just put an online survey and they throw up all the ideas and they say, okay, everybody vote and the top 10 things get the money. We can do that, but are we going to be content with that result? I don't think so. This is going to take longer than what some of our neighbors are doing. And we have to be mindful about the fact that we are going to have constituents calling us saying, I saw Davenport already did this, right? We have to be, I mean, that's part of our job as being aldermen, is to be able to respond to that. But I think if we think about the plan and think about how we're going to come up with the plan on how we're going to figure out how to spend this money, then after we've spent this money, we are going to be in a much better place to go to our constituents and say, well, we don't even need to say it, because they will understand by participating in the process what we did here. I mean, in summary, I would not need an entity, whether it be WVAK or whatever, to facilitate a ward meeting. If other aldermen want to do it, maybe, but I would not. When my constituents call me and say, what are you doing with this ARP money? I say, well, we're looking at getting a professional that can help us come to some plan as to what we're going to do here.
Yeah, but I think what Alderman Geenan was getting at was to have some means of a description, which we really don't need a consultant for that, a description of what the ARP is, and we don't even know all of the parameters of what can be used yet anyway. But we can put out something, even if we put it on our website, hopefully in a way that is easy to access, that this is what ARP is, or get our contacts in the media. This is what ARP is.
This is what it is and what it isn't, right? And you want
right. You don't have to say, it could be spent on A, B, C, D, and E, because we're not quite sure yet.
Good idea, but not sure.
But the larger story is that this is connected to $1.8 trillion, which is part of a rescue plan, which is connected to your life as a resident. Anyone who has children that are living below their means are going to get $500 into their checking account every single month beginning July. 50% of our children will be lifted out of poverty in the Quad Cities. Have we communicated how big of a deal this shot of money coming to the city is? Is it connected to a larger piece of a whole? They've said this is greater than the war on poverty when all of this comes together. And are we communicating that? This is, as council, this is our moment to deploy resources that in 20 years we can look back and say, yep, we didn't kick the can down the road. And I think that's where, the weight on our shoulders to spend this money the right way bears on me. And yes, I can host ward meetings by myself fine as well, but I've never seen the community more engaged in this type of idea talking from council about what can we do with this that is a recovery effort, does help us with our budget, but also sets us up on a trajectory where we don't have residents coming in saying they're going to move. So we have a tax base that has enough fund so that you and I as council members can fix our roads. This is connected to a larger 3-4 year deployment of a whole, everyone all hands on deck to recover. And I think every entity that I have talked to is impacted by it. So by WVIK providing us assistance isn't just to give me help. WVIK is part of the recovery effort too. They're on their listening tour of how they could change in this post-COVID world of relating to their constituents and customers as well. So it's more about building partnerships to achieve, a complete recovery as a community. Anything that I've learned in life is that I don't know anything, but I do know people who know more than I do about certain subjects and know how to do things. We all have a common theme here. Let's work together.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree. And I think the short answer to your question of how are we communicating that is we aren't, because we do not have the capacity to do so. And I guess I would caution us to not run down one road, whether it be unplugged or whether it be that.
Yeah.
But before we do anything, we talk to a professional that can help us come up with a plan as to how we do exactly what you're talking about. I mean, that's it.
So, yeah. And maybe I was a little ahead of the cart there, so I apologize.
I mean, this is an exciting time, and we all have different ideas, and we all want to see good things come from it. But if we don't stop and think about how we come up with these answers before we do it.
I agree. I think my perspective, I think step one is to have that professional on board. Call it consultant, call it whatever we want to do it, but have that professional on board that begins that plan, that communication plan that we keep talking about, but that builds that. And then we do step one. And whether step one is award, whether step two is then unplugged or whatever it is, but we follow that so we're consistent with the story that we tell.
And the story that we decide to tell.
And that's exactly. We're excited about telling everyone else, but we need to have patience more than some of our other cities around to get there, because it just takes time to. You put it on RFQ, and you got to give a certain amount of weeks. Then you just thread those, and then you can vet those, and then you got to put the RFP out, and that takes another several weeks, 3-4 weeks, and so it takes time. But hopefully, in the end, we end up with an individual or individuals or a company that can put all this together without having to hire 2 or 3 different companies or whatever to try to fit it together. I think we're going to be more consistent and work wisely down this path.
Do we at the initial onset want to get the message out to our constituents that this is what many people don't even know what it is, and if we have one message, this is what it is, this is why we are taking our time and trying to do it right. Nothing against the other communities.
Exactly.
That's right.
That's all I was asking. Yeah.
And that's fine. The question is how to get that out. Do you get it out before a professional, or do you get it out after you hire a professional?
Because we can't. We can't.
If we get that out now, but we know what it is, we don't know all the parameters. Mm-hmm. And if we get that out now, then people our constituents might be a little bit more understanding. Why aren't the aldermen doing something already?
Well, we haven't
trying to do it.
Yeah, they've known since March 18 when it was signed into law.
The issue is Mark, is the other issue. Okay, so we're going to get that out. How are we going to get that out? Right. Is it ward meetings? Is it unplugged? Is it mail? Is it that we can't? We're having some time having a consensus here on how we're going to get that out.
I wasn't making myself clear. I'm just saying
send a letter
through the media
as much as we can.
I mean, that's the thing is, I think WVIK is not going to do it for free.
Right.
So there will be a cost there.
Mm-hmm. The group.
So we might as well
send a mailer.
We might as well just send a mailer. And I think it can be as simple as here are the parameters that we know as of today. This are the general areas it can be used for. This is what it cannot be used for. So, I had somebody call today that said they wanted it to be used to fix their road. Well, it can't be used for that. So, but we need.
The other is timeline.
Right. But I think that will put some expectations by our residents in there that this is what we are looking at using it for, but these things we can't use it for. Because a lot of the calls I'm getting are to use it for what we can't use it for.
Me too.
I propose sending out a mailer. I just figured that's probably the easiest way to get the information out. And everyone, that way you're already setting up the unplugged meeting. So the residents have received a letter. They know what it is. Going into these unplugged, they know what it isn't. It just seems more simplistic. I don't think that's rocket science. We can put a mailer together and send it out.
Do it like an FAQ. Frequently asked questions about how do you use how can the funds be used?
I'd stand up to using the money rather than a flyer to support one of our nonprofits to do the work with us. I mean, if it's the same amount of expense type of a stuff, I don't see why having to pay WVIK to help is a bad thing.
They're going to reach the audience.
I don't know. Again, there's the Groove.
Because our reach is
We have
obviously
another nonprofit public radio station in Rock Island. We have other experts too. So I didn't mean to throw WVK just because of them. There's other people you're talking to, Randy.
A mailer will cost thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And that'll be just the first mailer probably in a string of more that we'll need.
I don't know if they're effective. We need an expert to tell us that.
But you can do things like PSAs are free. They get picked up. I mean, news gets picked up, and you don't have to pay. You know, a public service announcement.
I mean, could we just issue a press release when we release the RFQ and say the City of Rock Island is soliciting a professional to help us do this, and here's what the ARP is?
Here's a suggestion, and this is just me. We all ran for this office, so that means we had to get in touch with our constituents in order to vote for us to be in this office. I think it's not a requirement, but this is something that you should be doing anyway as an alderman, person. Talk to your constituents. So if that means if you're holding a ward meeting, then you discuss these issues at a ward meeting. If you're just walking your neighborhood, you're discussing the issues with your neighbors. You can send the letter if you need to, but they still need to hear from their alderperson, whoever they elected to be in that position. This is the time we need to lead and actually get out there and talk to them.
Yeah.
Stop having these discussions about sending something and just do the work and get out there and talk to them. Whatever that entails, it's going to be different for everybody. But get out and just talk to your residents. You will learn a lot. You can hear how you can actually communicate with them, because then you will find those difficulties. Some of us are going back up for re-election, so it can give you a head start on doing that type of stuff. Just get out and find a way to communicate with your residents first. And then as a whole, the city can figure out how we do it as, all of us together, if it's the unplug or whatever. But just get out and talk to them. I mean, because that's my plan. I'm going to hold ward meetings. I know I'm not going to cover everyone, but that's just one piece of the pie. And then from there, I do need to walk my neighborhood just to see who's there. That's just my suggestion.
Good one.
It's not bad. It's just going to, that's going to take time.
Time, yes.
The only fear is, and I agree that that's a lot of things has to happen. The issue is telling a consistent story. That's the only my concern. I think it's a great way to get out there, is just to make sure that the story is told consistently.
Well, we can have a fact sheet out there. Everyone would have the fact sheet.
Treasury Department.
Thank you.
But there is some. I mean, there are some variables, because we can use it to make up lost revenue, which then has to be expended, and there is some flexibility on how to spend that. So when you say you can't fund roads, you cannot fund them directly, but there may be an opportunity to make up some road replacement fund through lost revenue. We don't have all those details yet, but.
Okay. I'm hearing, not to cut this short if we want to keep talking about it, but I'm hearing more people have consensus of doing a ward meeting and or going out, and if they want to go out and knock on doors, they can do that, but having a ward meeting. I'm hearing more.
But independent.
Independent, that's correct.
If you want to do it. I can get information from WVIK, and you would know what that support.
If you wish to use it.
If you wish to use it. And if not, you can set up your own ward meetings. In the meantime, we go through the process of getting out the RFQ and going down the consultant, or I guess consultant, not like a Fortune 500 firm, but it may be a person here in the Quad Cities, someone to help you through the process. And those can happen simultaneously. Yes.
Could you please take us through this RFQ process? So when do you expect to have it completed? And then what? And then how do we go forward from there? Obviously, aldermen will have input on whatever you put together. So what's the next step?
I have a draft now that John Thorson put together, and John and I will tweak that, and the goal would be to get something to you by the end of the day on Wednesday. And as soon as the aldermen get back to me, the RFQ doesn't have to have every single detail, and some of that will come out when you interview, the firms or the people. And then we get that on the street, and for something like this, typically you'd probably look at least 3 weeks. We would get those back, staff and council would review them, and then the ones that we would like, we would bring forward, potentially at a study session or a special council meeting. And that would likely, just given where we are now, the second meeting in July.
And you can hire somebody without doing an RFP?
Yeah, you don't go, for professional services, you do an RFQ and you negotiate the cost later.
Okay, fine.
However, you can put in here, that they submit their cost per hour and their estimated hours, but it's not a firm proposal. Again, it's like we do in public works when we're hiring an engineering firm. It isn't the lowest cost, it's the best quality, for the job that you have. And that's what we would look for here. Otherwise, someone will come in and say they'll do it for $100. You probably don't want that. No.
How hard would it be to put together a frequently asked questions, like a one-page?
Well, a one-page is tough because I can go through the Treasury guidance and pull, they've done a nice job of that, but it's, 15 pages or so, just because there's a lot of questions. But we can probably go through there and pull out the ones that would be most important, and then we can refer people to the Treasury.
Right.
There's really 3 documents on there that sums up the whole program that people can look at.
Because that would be nice to have something that's short and easy to read, have it accessible on our website, but also available for us to print out. Because I know I walk my ward daily, and I talk to people all the time, but, to have something that I could hand out for people who are struggling to wrap their head around it might be nice.
Okay. We can put something together for council this week to take a look at. I have a bunch of information for you by Friday. The RFQ before that, but everything else by Friday. All right.
Give you enough direction?
Yes. Do you want to talk about?
Yes, I do.
Can I, one real quick? So what would we need for the study session for the Police Community Relations Committee? How can we get that set up?
Well, each of you are meeting with Mr. Brooks, and I'm meeting with him Friday. And then after that, we can proceed forward with a study session. If you want to do it here in 2 weeks, we can. I just have to push some stuff back that's, we've already told you would be on that study session. We can push it back. So that would be in 2 weeks then. We could have the study session. Unless council wants additional information between now and then, but that would at least be a place to start the dialogue, the public dialogue on it.
I think that would be good.
Okay, well, let's plan on that then. Everyone in agreement with that? Alderwoman Swanson, are you, I'm sorry, Alderwoman Gilbert, are you in favor of that?
Yes,
Okay.
that's fine.
So we'll plan on two weeks, the study session, and I'll just put just that on the study session. How much time do you want? An hour and a half?
I think it's going to be an interesting discussion. I think we should start at 5.
Okay.
And just plan for it to be the whole study session. If we get done early, we can go have coffee. but I want to make sure that we have enough time to fully talk about it.
I'm getting a thumbs up from Mr. Brooks, so I think we're good on that. We'll set that up.
Okay.
Still, please continue to have your meeting with Mr. Brooks, and I'm still going to meet with him on Friday.
All right. Another one I want to bring up, waste management, recycled products and everything else. We have a collection recycle location down off of 7th Street, down by Public Works. That's getting expensive. It's a mess. It's a lot of labor for Public Works. And Randy Hurt sits on that commission and could also talk about it. But financially, we're going to have to, if we want to keep that up, we're going to have to add more money to that to keep that process going. The recommendation of the waste management system, I think, is they're going to take a look at a vote. When you're meeting, Randy? Tomorrow. Whether to eliminate those pickup locations or not. So we need to kind of give Randy an indication of how he would like the council would like him to vote, to keep that location and keep that going, or to eliminate it And once again, we're one vote out of numbers, so we may vote to keep it, and they still eliminate it because there's more votes to eliminate it, or vice versa. But it is getting expensive. We can even talk to Mr. Bartels about it if anybody got questions with him. But they have a lot of labor and time. Trash flying all over when it's windy makes the place look bad down that area. Bad representation of the city when people drive on the 92 there.
Mike, can we have you come up and let the council in on this a little bit?
Yeah, and I did send everybody basically the paperwork, and so there are three options. One would, in order to cut costs for Rock Island County Waste Management, one would be the elimination of the drop-off center. Two would be the elimination of our money that comes back to the city, which is about $30,000 a year. So it actually comes back to the city, but it stays in the refuse fund, so it helps to offset our tipping fees, which keeps the rate lower. And then the last option is to get rid of the hazardous waste and tire collection.
Yeah.
Household hazardous waste. So the ability for a resident in Rock Island County to drive over to Scott County and drop off their hazardous waste. The only option they'd have is the one time a year where there's a drop off at the fairgrounds in Rock Island County.
Or now you can take it any time.
And then the tires are the government tires, which are tires we pick up and are allowed to take. We just have to fund that elsewhere. I think it was $9,000.
About $7,000.
$7,000. Residents would still have the ability to have tires picked up. That's part of the white goods. You can have white goods or tires picked up at your house. That would still go on. This would be the government program. So those kind of are the options. And normally we don't come to the council with those because the board just handles them. But this, there's some political ramifications here, and that's why I sent it to you to just kind of weigh in on. Again, Alderman Hurt is your representative on there as well as Mr. Bartels, and Mike can answer any questions for you.
What's going on with the county waste body? I don't remember what the name of it is, but
why are they Waste
needing
Management?
Why are they needing to cut expenses? Is this COVID? Is this the county? What's going on?
Well, I don't want to say officially. I mean, their expenditures are exceeding their revenues.
Yeah, that's obvious, but why?
They've been.
I mean, is the county saying we're not going to fund this anymore, and so now they're kicking the can over to the city for us to make this decision? What's going on?
No, just costs have increased over the years. They're maxed out on their tipping fee that they can apply to the landfills. So they've increased that over years, and now it's at the maximum.
Is that the only way that the body is funded, is through these tipping fees?
That's one part of it, yes. I don't know everything about the Rock Island County Waste Management Association.
It's the main part, though. So they get, for every ton that's dropped off there, they get a dollar percentage, and over the years, I was on the committee before we had incrementally raised that to make up for increasing costs, and now they're at the limit, so even though costs go up, that it's $1.27 or $1.34 or something.
I think it's $2 and some 50 cents per ton.
And the limit is set by state law, or what?
It is a law that they are maxed out. They cannot increase that. They've gone back over the years and increased it. Again, like Randy said, and I sent out that information previously, but we get the RICMA grant every year that strictly goes to our solid waste sanitation fund, and that primarily pays for our tipping fees, $30,000 that we would not see if that were eliminated through the grant. The other thing is the drop-off center. They're looking at eliminating that. Again, that would impact us the less. I mean, obviously, we have residents that use that, but we do that service actually costs the city of Rock Island money. We're there daily cleaning up the site. There's tons of illegal dumping there that we have to dispose of all the materials. We literally spend probably 20 hours a week to 30 hours a week there cleaning up that site. It is a nice service to have for people that don't have curbside recycling as a subscription, but we do offer that service. So there is another option if you needed to have a recycling service.
Not all people use it that even aren't our citizens. People from Milan might be coming in.
Absolutely.
And if you ask Alito or whatever, you just don't know who all is using each one of the sites. Milan's got a site. Moline's got a site.
And they're all pretty much treated the same. They all have illegal dumping. They all have time spent cleaning up. There was a cost that was given to most municipalities. I think it was $15,000 a year to help us clean up the sites because we were spending so much money and time on that, and that was eliminated due to expenses.
So I use the site down off of 7th Avenue. I noticed that there's cameras, 2 cameras there. What are the cameras for?
There is cameras, and that's to help with the illegal dumping. The issue is that the Zoom, it's hard to get. Most of them come at nighttime, and they can structure their vehicle behind the dumpsters. Okay. But we have had some luck catching some people doing that by the color and vehicle type. But it's few and far between.
Right. I know it's cut down because before you put the cameras up, it was just a pile of garbage. I mean, furniture and everything else outside the bins. And that did slow down. All they do is dump it in the bins now, different items. So I understand what you're saying. And I was fighting to try to keep it, but I understand it's a cost. And it's a huge cost because then they have to go in and kind of filter that stuff out before they can even process it as a, recyclable. So that makes it even more of a cost.
And this is a public meeting tomorrow. The meeting's at 1 o'clock. I know Randy sits on there. I attend them every meeting, but everyone here was welcome to join that. It is being done Zoom. I could send out the link too if anybody would like the link.
I drove by there today. There's like a couch and mattresses laying out there and everything else.
So the entity that actually recycles these products, who?
It's Republic Services.
And that's a privately owned for-profit company, correct?
That's correct. That owns the dumpsters, but they have a contract with Rock Island County Waste Management.
Right.
And that contract is coming up, I believe, in a year or two. And to get out of that contract would cost by contract, again, don't quote me, but I want to say it's about $7,000 to get out of the contract early. But that's a small amount of money to pay for what we see with the costs associated with the cleanup. I guess
where my head's at is if this company profits off of recycling, why don't we just have them pay for the recycling?
I'll say it again.
Republic Services, they
provide the dumpsters.
But do they get the stuff that gets recycled?
They do, yeah.
And then they do whatever they do with that stuff, and then they must make money off of it because that's what for-profit companies do.
You would think that is the case, but that's not always the case. The dumpsters they have do not get filled all the way just because of the way they're structured, where the material is put in. And so when they haul those off and dispose of the material, it should be X amount of tons, but it's significantly less. And that's not really due to their fault. We had the steps before to crawl up on there and go from the top down. Those were eliminated because they were falling off the steps. There was garbage underneath them that you couldn't get to. So this is a much cleaner application. But again, they to cut it down, they don't always make money at that.
If the market isn't for recycled plastic, and I use that example, it could be paper, whatever, is not very good, it's depressed. Do they have the option to take it to the landfill?
Yeah, they could take it to the landfill.
So if they may not be recycling everything that we think that they're recycling, and they may say the market's not good enough or strong enough for us to make money at recycling, so it's easier and cheaper for us to take it to the the site and pay the tipping fee.
I think they do here though, because they take it to Scott County, don't they?
They do. They use Scott County's
Scott
recycling.
County does a nice job, but
okay.
So they don't make money just off those tipping, off the selling it. They have to make money off being paid to pick those up or being paid to pick up our things.
Right.
It's not, I don't think anywhere, maybe in an area where tipping fees are really high, but no one's going to pick it up for free because they don't make it. They're going to make any money on that. It's just a tiny amount of money they make.
Has the county the county body, have they tried renegotiating with Republic Services to lower the cost?
I believe so, and I don't think it was successful.
Whereas we have a lot of cost in picking up.
I understand that, but what I'm getting at here is, was this presented by Republic Services as, hey, we are losing money on this, we want to get out of it, we're going to just close down the sites?
No, that was not.
Right,
no.
Exactly. So it must be at least not losing them a bunch of money. Otherwise, they would have told us, hey, we're losing a bunch of money, we're not going to do this anymore, right?
Right.
And so, and that's fine, but the point is, well, it's not fine, but it's separate. The point is, why is the governmental body and the taxpayers that fund this having to make the decision as to whether we want to remove this service or pay for it when there's a company out there making money off of this and not making money because otherwise they would have shut it down? I mean, why? Can you please verify that the county has gone back to Republic Services and said, hey, can we renegotiate this so that you can still make money off of it, but it's not so expensive for us?
I'm 90% that they did that approach and didn't work, but I will ask tomorrow.
Okay.
We've had recyclers previously come to us and ask to renegotiate because they weren't making any money, and we always said no, because you got a contract, and that's what the contract says.
Well, and that's fine. And are there alternative services? I mean, is Republic the only game in town?
Well, it used to be City Carton. They got bought out by Republic.
Ah, classic.
They're the low bidder.
Classic.
There are other people, but they're the low bidder.
Well, I guess.
I mean, they do bid this out every 5 years or
every 5 years.
So they're the low bidder.
We do need to, at this point, it's scheduled to have that vote tomorrow.
The meeting starts.
It is
at
on the
1.
agenda and scheduled, so we do need to give an indication of how we would like him to vote.
If you guys could even give it some thought overnight, just shoot me an email or something tomorrow and give me your ideas, and I'll be representative of what the council as a whole wants.
I mean, me personally, I do not like the idea of removing the service.
Me either. If you're looking for.
Do we want to do thumbs down, thumbs up? Is everyone comfortable doing that here?
Yeah, I mean, we can do that. We're not taking a vote. We're just giving an indication what we'd like to see.
But I think the reality is we don't like to remove services, but we have to be able to afford the service.
Correct.
If we can't afford it, then we need to seriously think about that cost. Do we have the funds to keep putting into it? And we're not really, or what are we getting back for it?
And
people will.
What's the difference?
In the difference in
like whatever the county needs to maintain doing
It's
this.
on that spreadsheet I sent you. I can look it up here.
Okay, I don't really need to know the number.
Okay.
Divided by however many refuse recycling customers that we have recycling, not even refuse. Divided by number of recycling customers that we have, how much would that be on their bill?
So we have 3,800 recycling customers. The difference, I'm not sure. I'd have to look at what was sent.
What I'm getting at here is,
can we raise the recycling?
Yeah.
To take the people that are paying for this and say, okay, you need to pay more because the people who don't want to pay for it.
But the people that are paying for the recycling currently,
the garbage.
It's not associated.
Fine, and the garbage, not the recycling.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
just
really
make
what
it
it comes down to is the solid waste fee is paying for this drop-off area through the tipping fees.
So we're going to encourage people not to recycle.
It switches to the garbage, not the recycling.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and the other thing with the drop-off center too is the amount of time that it takes for us cleaning that up. It pulls us away from other duties that we have, like special pickups, property abatements. Those are all things that we're not doing when we're cleaning up that site.
I get it.
So
I have a lot of constituents that have told me directly, I like that service.
The special pickup or the drop-off?
The drop-off.
Yeah, it's a great service. Honestly, in the previous meetings, I believe Moline does not want to lose that as well. So obviously, nobody wants to lose services, and we're not the only ones that are struggling with the decision.
But Milan's been struggling with the same thing, cleaning up out theirs. I know theirs have been overflowing quite a bit.
Yes, I understand that we as Americans like to have services, but we don't like to pay for them.
Say it isn't so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the other thing it sends a strong message is if you can't responsibly drop your stuff off and put it where it's supposed to be, and it's going to be a mess, and it's going to cost the city money to clean it up, then you lose that privilege.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't think that, you can't really pass that cost along to all the citizens because we don't all use it.
Because we have a responsibility.
Right.
In some cases, I don't want to belabor this, but in some cases, I know I've gone down there and used it, putting legitimate product down there, but they're full.
Right.
It'll fit in there. It'll fit it through the window and everything else, but it's so full you can't get it in. So now what do you do? And so it's even legitimate drop-offs, not just couches and everything else that's the problem.
I get it.
But do I cut it up? My option is we talked about it, you take it, cut up the boxes and put it in the regular garbage that week and there you go. I mean, I do recycling in my house too,
That assumes you have.
but I got that bin full. And you just spread it out over weeks.
Yeah, but again, that assumes you have curbside recycling. I have constituents who don't.
Yeah. Put it in their garbage.
Well, it's not a good option.
Environmentally, you're correct.
Correct.
But, all right, so once again, at this point, people want to give an indication now, or they want to just email Randy or text him later?
I want everybody just give it a little bit of thought,
Okay.
so you're not making a rushed decision. I have told. Just send me something before noon tomorrow. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything out there, anybody else have anything for the good of the cause, other business?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I was just wondering if Rand report look at a budget process.
Did anybody understand that?
What process, Judith?
Budget process, add in our process.
The budget process, I think is what she's talking about.
What? I'm not sure what she's asking. What about the budget process?
We can't hear your question.
That's an issue with our technology. So I just want to see on where we're at in our budget process for the public.
Where are we at with our budget?
In our budget.
I can get that to you tomorrow where we are in the budget process.
No, I want the public to know where we're at.
Oh. Linda?
Oh, Linda's here. I didn't see
Yeah,
her.
I was going to say, Sarah, can you come up and just tell us where we are in the budget process right now?
Hi, Linda.
Didn't know she was back there.
I saw you earlier. What happened to you?
Well, right now in the budget process, we have started looking at payroll verifications. So what that means is that we've sent the reports out to the departments to review and to see if there's any changes in staff or, different things like that. So that's basically where we are now. We've done other things, maybe like look at, trying to think, I think some IT-related things. Sent out an email regarding the CIP also. So we're just in the beginning phases right now. So hopefully ramp things up once we get the audit completed and out of the way.
Okay, so
Is that good?
Question to, you said we're payroll verifications?
Yes.
So part of Randy's goal was we're be analyzing department services and staffing levels. Is that being done part of the budget process?
Not at this point. This is just gathering information.
So when will that piece happen?
I'd have to look at the budget calendar, which I don't have in front of me.
Okay. So has there been any decision made about the finance committee?
No.
I've offered my name as I'd be willing to sit on that.
I'll get back to everyone this next week with that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Not for me.
Okay. Anybody else have anything for the good of the cause? All right. We are then at item 26.
Executive session, 5 ILCS 122 C11. Litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting.
Make a motion to enter into executive session under their 5 ILCS 12/2C11.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion on that? Roll call.
Alderman Hurt,
Yes.
Alderwoman Gilbert,
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson,
Aye.
Alderman Parker,
Aye.
Poulos,
Aye.
Keenan,
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
7-0, motion carries.